Toastmasters, a District 98 initiative. I am Toastmaster Kavitha Reddy, currently serving as the Area Director of Area E1. Beyond Toastmasters is a series. The Beyond Toastmasters initiative aligns with Toastmasters International mission. We empower individuals to become more effective communicators and leaders. At Beyond Toastmasters, we believe that Toastmasters International does not alone make you exemplary speakers and leaders. In fact, the lessons learned in this journey help you hone your life skills that contribute to your success beyond Toastmasters. Along with our core motto of influencing your leadership journey, our efforts are directed towards achieving the district mission. We build new clubs and support all clubs in achieving excellence. We hold the values of Toastmasters International in the highest regard and shall adhere to the guidelines set forth by Toastmasters International throughout the session. Here are the guidelines. Point number 1, I request the guests to switch off their video for better bandwidth. Point number 2, chat will be disabled. However, guests can send messages to host and co-host for any assistance. Point number 3, if a guest has any question to the speaker, he or she can send it to the moderator over a private chat. These questions will be taken after the session. On this note, let's start off at another inspiring episode of Beyond Toastmasters. Living in a culturally diversified country, it is important to all of us to know how to speak culturally, and understanding cultures matter. Especially for me, a member of Regional Language Club, and would like to expand the wings of Toastmasters in Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities. Not just in Toastmasters, but also in professional and personal life. I'm sure this session is going to help me better understand one's culture aspect. To take the session further, join me in welcoming the moderator of episode 5. This Toastmaster is the runner-up of Master Orator Championship 2018, a Rubik Cube athletic and a photographer himself. One of his picture achieved honorable mentions of Photo of the Year 2019 and 2020. He is none other than Toastmaster Furqan. I would request the Zoom master to spotlight Toastmaster Furqan. Furqan, over to
Amazing.
you.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Kavitha. And thanks for that lovely introduction. Hello, everyone. My name is Mohammed Furqan, and I shall be the moderator of today's meeting. Now, we all can assume that culture is something that is what we got to look for when it comes to traveling and meeting new people. And sometimes we tend to ignore that culture can also exist right around us in our surroundings, and especially in clubs like Toastmasters. Because the first time when I joined a Toastmasters club, I got to see different kinds of people around me. But to learn more about culture, we have a very interesting speaker who is part of this meeting today, this talk show, and I'm so excited to be part of this as a moderator and even as someone who is ready to listen from her. We have distinguished Toastmaster Suezy Proctor, all the way from United States, who is ready to talk about culture and diversity and why that matters. Suezy Proctor is someone who once at a time had that lack of confidence and lack of ability to communicate with people, and she joined Toastmasters just like we all had the same mission, the same aspect. But as the years passed and as she had been part of Toastmasters helped Suezy Proctor so much more that it has helped her communicate profoundly with her thoughts with her expressions and whatever she has in her ideas. I'm so glad and excited to be part of this meeting. Suezy Proctor, a distinguished Toastmaster, four times of achievement that she has got, a recipient of Toastmasters International President citation, and is also a speaker par excellence. And she held the office of the International Director from 2016 to 2018. Ladies and gentlemen, I invite Suezy Proctor over to the dais. Distinguished Toastmaster Suezy Proctor, the stage is all yours. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Furqan. Thank you all for your warm and generous welcome. Just a minor correction. I served as international director from 2006, 2008.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. I just wanted to clear that up. It
Thank you,
is a
sir.
privilege and a pleasure to join you today for this session of Beyond Toastmasters. And I'd like to thank Brilliant, Manideep, Kavitha, Syona, and Furqan for making me feel so welcome through this process. They are professionals. Today, I'm going to be sharing many points of interest with you on the topic of cultural diversity as it pertains to Toastmasters around the world. And since we have an allotted time to cover this material, I feel like having a conversation is better than a speech per se. But let me first tell you a story why this topic of culture interests me so much. I first joined Toastmasters in 1997 after my husband and I were married. I lived in a remote valley in the mountains, and Dan lived in the big city. So when we got married, I moved to the city with him. I just want you to know, you do not have to leave your country to experience culture shock. The city swallowed me up. I was so afraid of all the people, and I knew they perceived me as a country bumpkin with a lot of rough edges, and I feared their judgment. Dan and I received a welcome basket in our new community, and along with many other things in the basket, there was an invitation to a local Toastmasters club. It sat in that basket for months. But there came a time when I realized I needed help to overcome the fear of communicating with others. So I called the number immediately. I visited that week and I joined right away. Best thing ever. I enjoyed working through my competent communication manual. That's the old legacy Toastmasters program. And I was excited to earn my first competent communicator award. But I was even more excited to serve as a club officer. My club elected me president. Wow. It was the first time I ever worked with a team of people. And my love for leadership and leadership development took root then. Working my way up through the district leadership was an incredible array of opportunities, and it brought me together with many people from many diverse backgrounds and cultures. My next step was in service as international director in 2006, 2008. And at that time, there were many districts that had formed in the world who were not assigned to a region. During the most exciting convention in 2008, Toastmasters International Convention's business meeting, the members voted to regionalize the world of Toastmasters, and this set in motion a tsunami of events and changes in the world of Toastmasters that is nothing short of amazing. Daniel Rex, the current CEO, who's been a guest on your show previously, became executive director in 2008. The World of Toastmasters International increased to 14 global regions, 250,000 members in 106 countries. Wow, that was so exciting. As I grew in confidence and competence in the world of Toastmasters, my career exploded. I was able to capitalize on several things Toastmasters taught me. Foremost, observation. Now visualize. We all see and hear the speaker. That's followed by listening to an oral evaluation. The first few evaluations I heard, I thought, really? That's what you heard? Now, I didn't say this aloud, but this is what I was thinking. That's what you heard? That's how that speech made you feel? What this did for me was teach me how to critically observe the audience to see what drew them in, what turned them off, what they thought was humorous. And I learned to read people. And this one skill increased my ability to engage with my contacts better. Number two in my toolkit was to learn how to ask questions. What I learned is not to be afraid to tell somebody you just don't know what they mean and ask for clarification. A worthy saying is, seek first to understand. Because this taught me that if I asked valid questions with sincerity to learn, I made an ally. For example, my customers were mainly high-ranking military, and you can visualize an officer in a uniform with all kinds of medals and badges and patches and the like. And so asking, hey, I'm just learning, but what does that medal represent? I never experienced rejection. People love to talk about themselves and their accomplishments, and knowing that they're helping somebody like me to understand their world better. Later, as our relationships developed, I received more referrals and introductions to quality contacts. Two, if an answer was complex, I'd ask for clarification on things that I didn't understand to let that person know I was paying attention and I valued their time to help me. I've been retired since 2013, and I'm still in contact with many of my former customers because we formed bonds and relationships. The third tool in my toolkit is evaluations. Yes, ask often, how am I doing for you? What can I do to make your world better? What can I do to up my game, etc.? And turned my colleagues and my customers into my secret sales force by the referrals. It's now 2021, 13 years later. I've been so curious to see how the districts and regions have changed in the last few years. And I saw something pretty startling, something I didn't know about Region 8. I'm originally from Region 1. I could tell you everything about it, but now I'm in Region 8. This is the district, this is the region my district is in. I'm from District 77. So looking at the map of our region, I knew that, for example, the Caribbean islands, the Bahama Islands were part of our region, but I didn't know that it also included 4 South American countries. Wow. So that got me looking into all of the regions, and it snared me into a 2-month-long research project into the various cultures of Toastmasters International. Today, I'm going to share some of my conclusions with you in a condensed version using the who, what, when, where, how, and why methodology. And you will soon see why understanding our cultures is so important. Now, my sources will be included on 3 handouts that will be shared with you in chat. One of them is titled 2021 Big Data. It's a comprehensive look at every region, and I'm looking at all regions through a few filters. One, the region, the total population of the region, the countries that make up the region, the main languages, and the main religions of that region, okay? So big data. The next one would be something that you already have access to. You probably already have in your portfolio, but the 2021 world map of regions and districts. And because we're talking about it today, I just thought I'd add it in the chat for you so you could click on the map if you were inclined to. But finally, the 2021 quick look of the world of Toastmasters, of the world to Toastmasters. So you can kind of get an idea, just a quick look. But in a nutshell, there are 195 countries in the world with the population just under 8 billion people. Toastmasters can be found in 145 out of the 195 countries in the world. That surprised me. I had no idea we had proliferated the world so well. There are 16,200 clubs representing 365,000 members and growing. So let's begin. Who? Who was I targeting? Everybody, all citizens of the world. These populations are integrated around the world. And so no country is an island, even if it is an island. Take the Caribbean islands, for example. It's comprised of 13 countries, 23 plus ethnic groups, and each ethnic group has added elements of its own culture to its local life. English is the first or second language in most countries. It's also the unofficial language of tourism, the dominant industry in many parts of the world. But for today's purposes, I'm just going to contrast regions 1 through 9. I'm from region 8, and region 13, where you are from today. So let's begin with regions 1 through 9. Just to get a visual, all of the North American continent and part of Africa. The total population of region 1 through 9 is just under 800 million people. This is less than half of the population of region 13. The countries in region 1 through 9 are, of course, the United States, Canada, Mexico, the Bahama and Caribbean islands, and the 4 South American countries of Guyana, Suriname, French Guiana, and Brazil. The common languages of regions 1 through 9 are English, Spanish, French, Mandarin Chinese, plus hundreds, if not thousands, of ethnic and folk languages. The overarching religions of regions 1 through 9, Protestant, unaffiliated, and those are folks who don't associate with a formal religion, Catholic, Christian, Hindu, Islam, and many others. So that's region 1 through 9. Region 13, your region, just under 1,900,000,000 people. Repeat that, 1,900,000,000 people. Now folks, do the math. That's 1,100,000,000 more people in a condensed geography than all of regions 1 through 9 in a rather large geographical area. It's amazing. The countries represented in your region, I'm sure you're well aware, but for those joining us, India, Sri Lanka, Nepal, Bhutan, Bangladesh, Myanmar, Laos, Thailand, Cambodia, Vietnam, Malaysia, and Singapore. And the common languages in Region 13, Hindi, Bengali, plus, again, hundreds, if not thousands, of local and folk languages, with the addition of 200 plus million English speakers. And the overarching observed religions in Region 13 would be Hindu, Buddhism, Christian, Islam, Mandarin Chinese, Malay, and Tamil. Now what? What is the purpose of this study? Well, it illustrates the expansive diversity in that while we are unique, we are intertwined with one another. We cannot separate ourselves. We can't isolate ourselves either from one another. And given that, there is a need to learn how to do that. And that begins with communication. When? When should we open our doors or open our minds? If you haven't noticed, the doors to the world have opened. They are opened now. The time is now to embrace world diversity and learn from other cultures. Where? Well, before the global pandemic, travel had never been more accessible to so many people. In time, hopefully soon, we'll be able to travel again. But this health crisis has expanded virtual opportunities to bring people together from all over the world. And in the process, what I have found, many people for perhaps the very first time are traveling virtually outside of their country, outside of their state, outside of their city, and more importantly, outside of their comfort zones to do what? To communicate with other cultures. Their understanding of the world will change. It has no choice. It will change. Why is understanding cultural diversity important? Because our countries, workplaces, and schools are increasingly consisting of various cultures, racial ethnicities, and groups. And we can learn from one another. But first, we have to have that level of understanding about each other. Learning about other cultures helps us to understand different perspectives within the world in which we live. And it can dispel negative stereotypes and personal biases about different groups. Tell me, the world needs this now more than ever. How? How does cultural diversity help us recognize and respect ways of being that aren't necessarily your own? So that as we interact with each other, we can build bridges to trust, to respect, to understanding across cultures. And furthermore, this diversity makes our countries more interesting places to live because people from diverse cultures contribute so much. A new language, new ways of thinking, new knowledge. Oh, and the food, art, and music, and the different experiences evolve. Friends, My curiosity is still not satisfied. I am continuing my research. I mean, aren't you just a little bit curious about how people navigate the same space and time? I hope sharing this information has sparked something in you to take a closer look at the many cultures around the world, and especially right where you are. One of my biggest inspirations growing up as a young Toastmaster was past international president Dilip Abhisakara. He's from Sri Lanka. I'm sure you know him. Hopefully you've had a chance to meet him. If you log into the Toastmasters International website and in the search box, enter his name, Dilip, D-I-L-I-P, you'll come up with a page with his profile along with other prominent communicators of our time. And scroll down through them until you come to webinars. And there are many. But the third webinar group down is called Communicating Across Cultures. And it features Dilip as the moderator in each session. And each session has 3 panelist experts on cross-cultural communications from very diverse backgrounds, including Rashmi Kapsi from India, who was a substantial panelist in her webinar. Each session is about an hour long, and it covers a wide angle view of the world culture and how to navigate the complexities moving from one culture to another. I have added the link to this webinar on the 2021 World to Toastmasters handout. You're going to find that link at the bottom of the page. And I encourage you to listen to all 3 in that session, especially if you work with global partners. Now, I'll close this part of the conversation with my top takeaway from communication across cultures, and that is this. We all come equipped with the ability to stop and smile, to diffuse anxiety, and to ask a question. This is the #1 technique for diffusing apprehension. No question is off limits if you are curious and it matters to you, but without condemnation or judgment. And continuing on that line, asking more questions than talking will greatly help to open the hearts and minds of the new people that you meet around the world. So at this time, I'm ready to take your questions. Your moderator.
So much. Thank you so much, Toastmaster Suezy. So we do have a bunch of questions from the registration forms, and I'll start off with these. Then we can move to the chat box that will fill up anyhow. Members, you can feel free to share the questions with me, and I will share them with Toastmaster Suezy. So Toastmaster Suezy, Toastmaster Sneha has a question for you. How to respond to people who are insensitive to our culture without being too blunt?
Insensitive to what?
Insensitive to our culture without being blunt to them.
Well, I think people appear to be insensitive and blunt, but perhaps they're insecure. You know? People don't like to admit they don't know something, right? So the last thing I said was that we all come equipped with a smile, to stop and smile. Even if you don't mean to smile, once you smile, it's there and you'll feel the smile, and ask questions. But I think a lot of people are hesitant to ask questions because people don't want to look silly. They don't want other people's judgment either. And they don't want to appear that they don't know about a culture. But I think if you're the person that's feeling that from somebody who isn't in, you don't feel that's interested in you, you could direct the question back to that person to open up the dialogue. For example, you did this very well when we were in the first 15 minutes before the talk began. Have you ever traveled to India? No, I haven't, you know. What have you heard about India? So if you ask them what have they heard about India, that will give you the context of what their thoughts might be. That'll give you an opportunity to direct them to something more positive, but also something more accurate. Because, you know, you tell somebody something over here, by the time it gets passed along to different people, when it gets to this person, it sounds totally different and it may not be accurate any longer. So if they're not approaching you, you need to take the position to approach them, but with that sort of modest, unthreatening, non-judgmental posture, and ask them simple questions to draw them in. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question? Okay.
All right, so another question we have from Toastmaster Joy, and he questions how to work in a cross-cultural work environment without being judgmental.
Well, it's on you. Joy, I have not met you, but I know about you. And so here's the thing. You want to learn something, then you have to take on the posture of a learner. A lot of us come to something with these preconceived ideas and we know this and we know that, but we don't know anything, right? So you have to erase what you think you know and become the learner, become the student, ask questions for clarity. This will help the people that you're around, because one, you're getting the help you need by asking clarifying questions, but they're getting the confirmation that they have something of value to offer. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Another question is from Toastmaster Shreya Jain. How does understanding culture diversity help us in skill development?
Well, I think cultural diversity helps us a lot in many ways, and in skill development, like, for example, I'm not the most technological person on the planet, but just since I met Brilliant and then Manideep and then your team, I learned some really neat technical things that will help me navigate a Zoom meeting much better, because India is the heart of technology of the world. This is not a saying, it's a statistic. So I think too, that's a lesson. Find out about the people that you're meeting first and know something about them. It's so easy on Google. Tell me about, you know, this, tell me about that. Get a little bit of information so you're not just standing there cold. But your technology capabilities in District 98 are amazing. I joined you on Facebook, not because I know you so well, but I am learning so much about the technical aspects of it, and I can use that in my own business, in anything that I do. So just find something that you're wanting to develop and try to find that in the culture that you're meeting, and see if they can, you know, share that. And I found that you're more than willing to share. People want to share their knowledge and experience, right?
Yes.
Yes.
We have a question from Toastmaster Suresh, and he asks how to target audience if your audience are an amalgamation of different cultures.
Well, you can interact with an audience initially, you know. You need to maybe ask questions. Who is from this country? Who is from that country? I'm from here. Where are y'all from? How many of you are from Mumbai? How many of you are from Bangalore? You know, etc. And get a feel of the makeup before you start. If you do that, it'll be a saving grace, because Your talk may be focused on something where there is no representation in the audience. So you have to, quickly change how you couch your phrases. So I think, asking right up front, who are you? Where are you from? I'd like to get to know a little bit about you. That breaks the ice in almost every situation.
Right. Even I too agree with this. Even from marketing perspective, we say this as the same answer. Indeed.
Good.
Another question is from Toastmaster Chris Santosh, and the question is how to adopt corporate culture in personal journey of Fortune customers.
Could you repeat that? It broke up just a little bit.
How to adapt corporate culture in personal journey of Fortune customers.
In personal journey of what kind of customer?
Fortune customers.
Fortune?
That's how the question is, but I think it should lay down the context.
I'm not quite understanding the question because I don't know what that word is that's missing. What am I comparing it to?
Okay, we can skip to the next question. I think that person might able to rephrase the question again later.
Okay, that'd be
So,
great.
Toastmaster Jasmine asks, why do you think people find it truly hard to accept things from different cultures?
Well, because probably, it's not a nice word, but probably because of their ignorance. They know they don't know. People want to be in command. They want to own the stage, so to speak, or whatever. And when they're involved in something they don't know much about, they want camouflage. They don't want to be singled out and be exposed, right? But here again, I think if you know that you are going to be with a group of people from another culture or groups of cultures, because in Toastmasters, for example, if you go to the International Convention Live, you're going to meet people from all over the world, right? You should just take the time to just search a little bit about them. If you're a Toastmaster, search the region sites or the district Toastmaster sites, except just get a feel. And I could say, hey, I saw you on Facebook, Furqan. Wow, nice to see you in person. So there's a lot you can do before you actually meet people. And if it's important to you, you'll take the time. It just takes a few minutes just to find a few aspects where you can have common ground. Right? You can
Indeed.
start from something common that we do share and go from there.
Indeed. We have one question from the timer of our meeting, Toastmaster Swapna. What is the most important quality one should have as a leader aligned with cultural diversity?
Oh, that is so simple. Well, it's a two-part answer. In my toolkit is observation, right? Observing the people around you, watching how they respond, watching what they lean into, watching what they back away from. You can tell when somebody has lost interest in whatever is going on around them. That, and then just like you would evaluate a speech, evaluate the situation. Just take time to break it down into simple steps. What's going on? Who are these people? Why are we here? What are we looking for? Just basic skills that you actually develop well in a Toastmasters context.
That's nice. So members, if you have any more questions, you can feel free to maybe unmute yourself and ask questions if you have any, or you can send some over to me that I can ask on your behalf. Okay, one we have from Toastmaster Suresh. How do you select target audience in cross-culture people gathering? I think we have already answered this question before. How to select target audience in the cross-culture with people gather?
Can you repeat the question?
How do you select target audience in a cross culture of people gathering?
How do you select?
It must be in a way of how do you identify your target audience in a cross culture?
Okay. Well, let's just take this here. You're my target audience. So I think people know where they're going to be. I mean, if you go to a conference, a business conference, you know kind of the language and the intent of the people being there. When you're in a work environment, you're working with people with the same kinds of experiences and, you know, you're doing businesses across the table, whatever. If you're just out socializing and you're meeting people for the very first time, the rule applies. Seek first to understand. Who are you? Where are you from? Oh, I've never been there. Tell me about your country, or tell me about your city, or tell me about this event, or tell me why you're here. Ask questions first. Let them talk. You don't have to talk. You'll learn so much more, and you'll create the bridge that's necessary for more communication to follow.
That's right. So Toastmaster Syona has a question. What was your inspiration to climb the ladder of leadership?
In my first club, now this is truth, in my very first club, I'd never heard of Toastmasters. And I didn't know that I call it a dysfunctional club because nobody in the club had any goals to do any more than be in the club. They had already gotten their competent communication. They did not want to serve. In my club, I never saw an area director. I never saw division. I never heard about anything outside of our club. And then one day in a local newspaper, I saw an article that the international president of that time, Tim Keck from Hawaii, was coming to our district for a spring conference in a conference facility that was very near where I was living. And I thought, the international president, you don't know me, but I was really this excited. I was just like, I'm gonna go. I never heard about it before. So where the day came and I went to the conference room was full of members from our district. And I was amazed. I had no idea. I didn't know there was that many people in Toastmasters where I lived. Also, I saw area director, division director, we call them governors at the time, the top 3 officers, and this international president. You know, so you join an international organization, you want to have some kind of an international experience, and there he was. And his keynote was really interesting. He was talking about using Toastmasters as a tool, right? As a tool to connect people and ideas, right? And cultures. He even used that word. I was so excited. I was really mad too. It's like, I've been a Toastmaster almost a year. I never heard of anything like this, right? So in a break, I walk up to him and I say, oh man, this is really blowing my mind, blah, blah, blah. You know, what do you do to be an officer? He says, you go over and you talk to that lady. And she was our district director, our district governor. And the next thing you knew it, I was an area governor. And my whole world changed.
Amazing.
Whole world changed because I had something to do. I had skills, but I never had the opportunity to use them in my club. Now I get to wield them on the clubs in my area. I had a blast. And it was hard work, but I do contend, Furqan, that the area director's job is probably one of the best jobs in Toastmasters because you really get to meet the clubs and make a difference in the clubs. And that's where all the action takes place.
Interesting. We have one question from Dinesh, and while we embrace the other cultures, what if we make mistakes?
Pardon? Can you repeat that?
While we embrace other cultures, what if we make mistakes along with them?
Oh my gosh. Making mistakes is not breaking the law. And how do you learn? And you can make mistakes and ask forgiveness. The important thing is that you try. So what if you make a mistake? I learned some of my best lessons from the worst possible mistakes. So I would erase being fearful of making a mistake. A mistake is an opportunity to actually engage more deeply with the person that you're having the conflict with.
Another question is by KK, the host, and he asks, how does culture influence one's leadership style? And how do we adapt to the culture in which we are in?
Well, I feel that today it's hard not to see the world. It's hard. I can't see the world anymore as you're over there and I'm over here and they're up there and somebody else is down here, because we are extremely integrated societies. There are many Indians who live on the North American continent. There are many English-speaking people that live on the Indian continent. People work all around the world now. Now virtually, we're not traveling. So I think our idea of culture it's not them, us and them. It's all of us. So I think we have to adjust our view of the world. We have to fine tune that focus of how we view the world. It isn't us and them, it's all of us. We all are part of the culture. We're not separated any longer. Does that make sense?
It does, it does. One question is a little bit challenging over here by Toastmaster Sarika. If in case language is barrier, then how to mingle and connect with people from different cultures?
That is so easy to answer.
Wow.
Because talk isn't the only thing we do. We eat, we drink, we dance, we go for walks, we look at beauty, we go to museums, we do things besides talk. Somewhere there's going to be common ground because we all do certain things. I think there's so many more ways to communicate than just through the spoken word. An embrace sometimes now might not be great in your culture. In France, they kiss people like 3 times on the cheek, Here in the US, we're huggers, man. Give me a hug, Not so much right now with masks on and everything. But there's a lot of ways that we can connect with people other than through words. You might find a translator if you really have to communicate with this person.
Right. Another question by Toastmaster Manisha. When we are new to a particular culture, what do you think is the single most important thing to keep in mind?
To keep an open mind is the most important thing. We come to the table with preconceived ideas, right? That all India's population love to dance. That may not be true, but watching them dance is really exciting. Or we can't put people in boxes. We can't say this culture does that, this culture does that. We just have to keep an open mind. And could you repeat that question again? Because I think I missed a point.
When we are new to a particular culture, what do you think is the single most important thing to keep in mind?
if we really want to embrace the culture, we need to observe. You can learn so much by seeing how the culture interacts with each other. That's your cue. Observation is your tool. You'll get a lot of cues from watching people, listening to people, and see how they interact. If you're forced to interact before you're ready, then you can always ask questions. You can always say, hey, this is something I know very little about. Maybe you could help me understand this.
Right. So if there are any more questions, you can feel free to open up your mic and unmute yourself, open your video, and feel free to ask questions to Suezy. Anyone else who would like to? We still have 9 more minutes left.
Hi, everyone. This is Paresh, and greetings, Suezy and the others. Am I audible?
Yeah,
Yes.
you are.
Okay, great. My question is, apart from food and sport, what are the other topics that could easily, help mingle with other cultures?
Art is one thing. Another thing is, when I first talked to Manidip, he was remarking about some of the iconic images in the Hyderabad area, the temples and the such. I think people are interested in culture, architecture, history, art, music, books. If you're on a religious track, mosques and temples and things like that, the opportunities are quite diverse. Does that help answer your question?
Yes, that does, Suezy. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, so
Hi Sujit, this is Suresh Kapati from Hyderabad. Am I audible?
yes, you are. You.
Okay. My question is that suppose a MNC company is operating in USA, China. A MNC company operating in a USA, China, UK, in different countries like Denmark. The company is designed process and systems in an official manner, but the people are working from different cultures. So when people are from different cultures, these process and systems will have some impact or not. May I know your opinion in this regards?
Well, I am aware of organizations that have offices in many countries of the world. They typically have, like Toastmasters, have a board who look to determine what is the best way to communicate, what is the best way to educate, what is the best way to promote, what is the best ways to do all the things that you do in a corporate environment. I'm sure that in this environment that there is a common language that is preferred. It's probably English. That isn't always necessarily true. So if working for a company and it's that large, I'm sure that they have boards of directors that establish these minimum operational procedures, but probably in something that big, it's probably beyond minimum. It's probably well defined. And if you work for an organization like that and you're not happy with the structure, or there's some aspect that you want to change, then I would look to see how you could interface with that group to promote your idea or your invention or your mode of thinking. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it makes sense.
Partially. Okay, thank you.
Partially.
Now, No worries. We can connect later with this, Suresh. Thank you so much, everyone, for sharing such wonderful questions to which we got valuable answers from Toastmaster Suzy. And Toastmaster Suzy, thank you so much for being part of this meeting. I enjoyed a lot, having a lot of fun and insightful session from this. I now take it back and give it to Toastmaster Syona, the Division D Director of District 98.
Thank you so much, Furqan. Culture is the name for what people are interested in. Their thoughts, their models, the book they read, and the speeches they hear. This is what Walter Lippmann said. If we are to preserve culture, we must continue to create it. It's a privilege, Susie, to have been a part of this show. I could relate with so many things you shared about you and your amazing journey. Just this morning at work, we were talking about understanding culture at workplace. And I must say that I have so much of homework to do and a lot to take back to my workplace this Monday morning. On behalf of District 98, I would like to thank you for being here and sharing your thoughts, your experiences, the statistics. I could feel the passion in your voice while you narrated your amazing journey in Toastmasters. As a part of your culture, while you would love to hug us or hug me when we meet, until then, we can start off with a namaste.
Namaste. Namaste.
Please accept the certificate of appreciation as a token of gratitude. Thank you so much for being with us. May I request the Zoom master to share the screen? Okay. KK, will you do it? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you once again, Susie. Nothing is
Thank you
possible without, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Nothing is impossible without team effort. And we would like to thank the team who worked behind the scene to get the best speakers we can motivate District 98 members. We would like to appreciate the efforts of the Zoom masters, Shravani Reddy from Ellen Toastmasters Club, Shruti from TCS Kavitha Love Toastmasters Club, the timers Swapna Pachala from the Golden Falcon Toastmasters, and Fani from CBIT Toastmasters Club. I would also like to thank the area director, Toastmaster Kavitha, for setting the tone for this talk show. It would have not been possible without you, our moderator, Furqan. Please put your hands together. I think we can unmute ourselves and put on our videos and show our reaction and our appreciation for all the team members. I would also like to thank our special guest, Susie's friends all the way from the US, Chanti and Mary, and not forgetting all the other audience in the room. Thank you for being with us and making this special for all of us. May I now request everyone to put on your videos so that we can capture some good memories of the time we spent with you, Susie. Zoom Master, over to you to click some more pictures. Thank you.
We're still seeing so many members not switching on their videos.
I think we can unmute yourselves and make some noise so that you know we are all in the room.
We have one other person I see from the United States. That's Louise Houdelette. Hello, Louise. Wow,
Hi,
long time
Susie.
no see.
Really? You inspired me to go into district leadership.
Great. Oh. That makes me feel good. I had such a great time. I think one thing that you do so well is that meeting before the meeting. I really appreciated getting to know all of you who are behind the scenes, to meet each one of you and know what you do in Toastmasters and how you interface in this meeting. It really put me at ease. Normally, I'm so nervous before something like this, but I couldn't wait. I was ready to log on like 45 minutes before because I knew who you were and I was ready to join you. You really have a nice program. You work all the kinks out ahead of time. The email communication was well constructed. You're a model. I think
Thank you
other
so much.
districts could learn a lot from you. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. And with this, I now adjourn this meeting, but we can be here for some time if anybody has a question for Susie or for any one of us.
Yeah, hi. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Yeah, this is Chris Santosh. I have one query. I have posted a question about